kind of the regular base. For those of you that are new that have not met me before, welcome. I'm the president and CEO of Keep Trading Simple. My style of trading is a little bit different than a lot of others out there. What I really focus on is keeping things as basic as possible. What I find is that there are too many secret sauces out there that everybody tells you that you have to have, but in the reality is many of those things are not necessarily needed, and they're almost easier to trade against than trade with in most cases. I've created a number of different trading systems. A lot of them are Nadex based as well. Nadex is a vehicle, right? Most of the strategies I have are, kind of reversal or continuation pattern styles. And then again, I apply them to kind of the correct or proper asset or vehicle, should I say, depending whether it be Nadex or not. I started trading back in 2000, really the end of 1999, 2000. If you guys remember back in the I don't know. I mean, really, I guess I started in the tech bubble, but like, can you guys remember Y2K? How the world was supposed to end because computers could not figure out that extra digit, right? Um, but was able to go through that. Started the same way that many people did, stocks and traditional options. After about 6 years of doing that and kind of making sure I was learning all the hard lessons, right? I found Forex. I really loved that market because it was 24 hours a day and it was a little bit more aggressive, and I really enjoyed that. Found futures as well. Forex and futures go pretty much hand in hand. Was out in the industry, was teaching for a bit, became a financial advisor. I thought if I learned it from the inside, right, I would be able to get like the secret sauce, right? And I realized very quick that a financial advisor really is not taught how to trade the markets, analyze stocks, nothing whatsoever. And I worked for one of the big three banks, and I was quite surprised. It was great because I did really learn about the relationship with bonds, and it was something that, being a retail trader, I was like, bonds, yeah, whatever, that doesn't affect me. But I didn't really realize how big of an influence it actually does have on the market. So I was thankful to take that away, and left very quickly and decided to come back out and find just my true passion is really helping other people learn how to do it themselves. Again, learning from the mistakes that I made and hopefully keeping people out there from making the mistakes that I did. And trust me, I made a lot of them. But again, it made me who I am today. Um, Traveled around the United States as well as Canada. That's where I met my wife. This is a kind of an interesting picture. If you guys were around last week, you know that the boys are 10. The baby is behind me. You'll hear her talking from time to time. We just had the mandatory leave your daughter alone for 30 seconds and turn around. And she got marker everywhere. And yes, she kind of has marker everywhere. We were doing that right before we started the stream. And also, my wife is now 11 weeks pregnant, so we are looking forward to making that a family of four. So, or I guess a family of six, right? Four kids. Math is one of those things today. Um, with that said, let me go right into the Nadex risk disclaimer because we are going to be talking about charts and potential risk and setup. Trading on Nadex involves risk and may not be appropriate for all. Members risk losing the cost of another transaction, including fees. You should carefully consider whether trading on Nadex is appropriate for you in light of your investment experience and financial resources. Now, any trading decisions that you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. None of the material presented herein is to be construed as a solicitation, recommendation, or offer to buy or sell any financial instrument on Nadex or elsewhere. Nadex is subject to U.S. regulatory oversight by the CFTC, and Nadex is a registered trademark of the IG Group. All right, so here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about the upcoming news events. And I'll tell you right now, Monday, Tuesday have been kind of shy. Tomorrow is packed, especially with Pal speaking. But we'll go through and look for the greatest opportunities, or the greatest is in the potential for movement, right? There can be a great news release, but nothing may happen from it. These are just potential areas where we're looking for movement. It's probably my favorite form of trading because it kind of narrows down when I need to be in front of the computer. Obviously, with three little ones and one on the way, things get a little bit busy sometimes. So it's nice knowing when I need to be in front of the computer and make the most out of it. Then we'll go over it and we'll break down the indices and see where they are moving for the day. Then we'll jump across to the Forex realm. And I know not everybody is a Forex trader, but for those of you that are out there that say, "Oh, I don't do Forex," you're missing out. You're basically just saying, "I don't want to, I don't want to have the opportunity to make money because, a chart is a chart is a chart. It doesn't matter if it's an index, Forex, or commodities. They all provide provincial setups. And some of the products that Nadex has is absolutely amazing to trade currencies, right? Last but not least, we'll dive into commodities, and the three commodities that we cover are gold, oil, and silver. There is natural gas that you can trade at Nadex as well, but we try to make sure that we keep this within inside of an hour, to be respectful of everybody else's day. That and the my little one, my princess over here, she starts to get grouchy at 1 o'clock and she does not eat. She doesn't want to eat beforehand, but it's like, man, we hit 1 o'clock. She's like, Daddy, food, my belly hungry. And it's, Daddy's little girl. I can't tell her no. So you guys know how that goes. All right. All right, let's dive over and go right into the potential news events. All right, go here, and we'll go back to this. All right, so right now today we know that again Bailey spoke this morning at 7:50. Powell is testifying. We're getting some information from it. You can actually, if you wanted to watch it, you could actually. There's the oversight, the Treasury Department and Federal Reserve's pandemic response. Whenever there's testimony, it's interesting. Most of the time, there is some type of like prepared questioning, and Powell does kind of have an idea of what's coming. But one of the big things today is, and Bostic talked about it, that once stimulus flows through the economy, then it'll actually be an easier read on inflation, and that's going to be kind of the battle this morning with questions. I don't know if you can see that here now. The questions that'll be bouncing back and forth, a lot of it's going to be dealing with inflation, with rates, with recovery. And remember, Powell only control a very small portion of this. There's many pieces out there to the entire recovery picture, that everybody's doing. The president is trying to get vaccines out. A lot of those were already being produced. Trying to ramp up those, but at the same time, we have things that we're kind of worried about, like what we saw from Germany this morning, talking about how numbers are rising exponentially thanks to the British variant, and the vaccines are not slowing them down. So it's going to be an interesting kind of talk, really kind of how they're managing it. Because again, remember, he's just financial. He can basically control, Fed buybacks and interest rates. And that's basically it, right? There's not a whole lot more that he's out there doing. Like, he's not going to vaccine sites. He's not doing, sending like a stimulus check. He's not doing that kind of stuff. His main read is kind of looking at employment, and he's looking at inflation. All right. Now, it is hard to tell inflation. We've heard that we're going to see transient inflation. And again, whenever you start sending money out there will be inflation. There was one round that went out, 2 weeks now? And then another round is going out this week to people that had not received it in the first round. So, money is going out there, so we should see some level of inflation. As far as the rest of the week, I'll just click here. It makes it easy. As you guys can see, the birds are pretty happy about being on. Just making sure the girl doesn't mess with them. Wednesday, there's all kinds of stuff going on. We start off early morning with the pound CPI, and again, if you don't know what CPI is, it's basically a gauge for inflation. Okay. Then we start diving into services, and again, you may have absolutely no idea what flash services or flash manufacturing are. Just understand these are all typically gauges of, kind of for right now, for all intents and purposes, recovery/inflation. It's the price of goods. It's the Purchasing Manager Index, right? Shows whether we have contraction or expansion. All the data over here is expected to be better than it was previously, although again, we saw this from Germany earlier today. But this is a big gauge on the European Union, right? All in here. Then after the 3 a.m., we have the 4:15, the 4:30, the 5, the 5:30, and then bam, at 9:45, we start hitting flash manufacturing in the United States, which is also supposed to be upticking. And then Powell starts talking, and then we have crude oil inventories right on top. And right now, the forecast is for an increase in surplus of supply of 1.4 million barrels. And then right after that, we got ECB president speaking at 11:40. So Wednesday morning until about noon. Like early morning to about noon, it's like bam, 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 bam. Now, do you need to catch Germany, France, all those? No. Typically Germany is the most important. You can see that Germany is actually listed as a bigger mover than the actual European number itself, because again, most of it will be affected by the German number. And as I pointed out earlier, Germany is in a very, Merkel was talking about how we're in a very serious situation, that numbers are rising exponentially, right? This was late last night that they talked, that this came out. So kind of like what's next. You start locking everything down, shutting, and it's going to definitely hurt a lot of these numbers and also send the euro, in the weaker direction. Thursday, we have the rear Swiss monetary policy assessment. Now, today was an amazing trade on the Aussie Swiss. A lot of movement very quickly, which we don't see too often. But again, I don't expect them to change the rates, even though they're still holding at 0.75. But, question is, what does their recovery look like? Right? Are they going to continue at the same pace? Are they potentially looking at cuts? All of these can send the Swiss in a spiral. Okay. And then we have Macklin speaking, and then we have ECB pres, and then we have the BOE governor speaking. Boom, boom, boom at 5:30. Then day one of the EU Economic Summit. Okay. Now, this is that comment earlier that I mentioned where people are like, oh, I don't really trade currencies. I don't know anything about, I don't trade currencies. I don't do anything with it. The EU Economic Summit affects a lot of different areas. It affects a lot of different people, right? Um, and a lot of different currency pairs, right? It's kind of I don't know, I'm not leading, but again, the euro dollar is one of the most traded assets in the entire world. Okay. Very, very big, a lot of potential. There will be headlines from that come out about. I know earlier today, Spain made comments about, the EU has been very slow to get stimulus out, right? They've been slow, and now we're seeing Germany have issues. And again, we're showing kind of little bit of inequality about who's getting vaccines over there, and where the pharmaceutical production facilities are, based off the size of the economies and everything. So it's kind of an interesting situation. And then we have final GDP, which is typically not that big of a mover. We already know what it is. It's not expected to be much of a change. And then Friday, you'll notice that the EU Economic Summit here is marked as orange. Well, here it's marked as red. That's typically where we see the biggest headlines is Friday morning. And when I say Friday morning, I'm meaning more middle to late in the day for the London session, which just happens to be when the US sessions are opening. Okay, so Friday morning, you may be looking at the charts and movement and be like, why is this moving? Like there's nothing like the market's not open. Well, guess what? It's going to be a reaction to what we hear inside of the EU Economic Summit, right? A lot of, again, talking about recovery, vaccines, mutations of the coronavirus. Again, that's a very, very big one right now. And then even retail sales, right? The pound has been on a mission lately. It's been very strong. The last reading was minus 8.2%, and it's expected to be an increase of 2.2%. So again, can the pound rebound from what it's seeing today? Yeah, it absolutely could, right? Well, again, this is Friday, not Tuesday, but you guys get what I'm saying. Depending on what happens on Wednesday and Thursday, Friday is the magic day for the pound when we have that data. So, as of today, I would say that the biggest outliner as far as tradable positions has obviously been the Swiss. I mentioned that earlier. You don't typically see the Swiss move 98 pips in one day, in 24 hours. That's a lot, right? It has a daily ATR of around 50. This is almost twice as much movement as we see on an average given day. Now, euro's down. Obviously, we have dollar strength, dollar strength, dollar strength, dollar strength. Aussie dollar being down is also dollar strength, and pound yen down is really just a pound thing. I'm sorry, pound yen, euro pound being more or less flat. So it's always crazy when you see dollar strength. But again, Powell speaking, he's the gentleman that controls that. We're seeing comments down here about, what was it? Bostic talking about once the stimulus, we're going to be able to get a better read on inflation. Remember, if we are seeing more inflation than expected, the way we control inflation is by raising interest rates. That's what everybody's been waiting for. And again, what happens if we raise interest rates? It is positive for the dollar, right? Because people are driving towards that interest rate, the higher interest rate, but it's bad for the stock market. All three indices will start to go down when we raise interest rates because it makes lending more expensive. Okay. Here's the article right here. The Bank of Spain cuts outlook on EU stimulus slower than expected, as EU stimulus is slower than expected. So, yeah, it's not great when big central banks are, and again, Spain is not a big central bank, but it is still a central bank. Is cutting its outlook because stimulus is not coming. Okay, and again, that's kind of a smaller nation. And if you guys remember a couple years ago, do you guys remember that acronym PIGS? Portugal, Italy, Greece, and Spain, right? It's one of the four kind of, I'd say, how do you say this? Kind of the hotspots for the euro, right? The smaller countries are the ones that tend to have the problems first. I mean, we're seeing Germany have it, but Spain is a big deal as well. So there's a lot going on this week, right? And again, a lot of it is centered around Wednesday, but there's a lot of trading opportunity out there. I mean, look at this, 100 pips in one day. That's a big bit of movement out there. So the people that say, I don't really know anything about currencies, I don't trade it. Hey, you're missing out. That's a big bit of movement there. Okay. All right, so first things first, let's go across and let's start looking at the indices. We'll start with NQ. That tends to be the one we start with. All right, so here's where we are right now, and it's kind of been a choppy morning, and we expected it would be. When we did our session earlier today, we are kind of sitting right here where this little cursor is. And again, that was an area where we had kind of an area of interest, right? And when I say area of interest, it's an area that was, a basing area. We had some basing here, which led to the pop, the base again, the drop down, the base again, that pop up. And then it kind of just went crazy with Powell speaking. I would say right now, I mean, again, we're up in a level. We know that sellers turn this price around up in this level. It breached a little bit higher. We could probably even drop this down and kind of refine it a little bit more. Yeah, we'll just do it off that one. That makes a little bit more sense right now. We could use this as kind of another area where we can say, hey, listen, it's been turned around. It's not fresh, but it's been a turnaround area. We know that buyers have stepped in. And again, where they step in right here at the basing level, right? What's next? I would say at this point, I mean, I could see this coming back down and basically running to this level. This level is at 13,008. 13,000 is right here where my cursor is right now, right? 13,000 is obviously a big psychological level. I mean, it's got three zeros in it plus two after the decimal point. That's a big psychological level, whether we're above or below. Okay. Now, as the testimony continues and the headlines and the responses and the dissection of what they had to say, that's going to lead to this jumping around back and forth. So, as always, one of the biggest, I would say, one of the hardest things to do is show analysis at noon when we're in the middle of lunchtime. The volumes tend to be lower. We don't have as much movement until afterwards. But I would say right now, areas that I would watch out for. I mean, obviously, this level we know it's been stopped twice. Kind of keep that there. I would say the next area that we really need to watch out for top side is if we can break through would be probably this level. Oops, I want to move that. Would probably be this level up here around 13,215. And the reason why, right? And there's kind of, there's a small level here. This is a level of basing that happened really late at night. And then as soon as the European session started, right here at 3 o'clock, we had major movement coming in. And you may wonder, wait, why does it matter if the European market made this move? Well, that's when the trading day is considered started with the UK session. And lately, a lot of movement has been coming out of the European session. Okay. Oil today started European session. Move like this, European session. So we're going to stick a line here and say, hey, listen, when we get close to this price, we need to start watching out. All right. Now, as you can see, it's a little bit higher than where we are. So again, we may come up in base and kind of start chopping back and forth again. Right now, although this is a smaller time frame, it happened at about 11 o'clock. There's not enough volume right now probably to hold it. Yeah, we may be able to take a short off of this event today, but I think I'd wait for this one to get just a bit higher. Like I said, up into this 13,215-ish area, and then start looking for something like this, where we have a base, a pullback, and then it doesn't go as high. That would be a trigger when we start to get short again. And I think that's decent. On the downside, actually, I'll just do it this way so you guys can see it a little bit better. Whoops. Change this to red. I'll change the text to white. Yeah, you can see that a little bit better. Vice versa, I would say that there's also a level, and again, this is not a level we want to trade off of. It's just a level that we're going to keep watching. We've had the basing twice and the kind of the breakthrough twice. So it's kind of the farther we get away from the initial base, the less and less we follow it. So I'm going to steal one of these and bring this down. I would say be cautious down here, right around, and again, 13,000 is right there, right? We can see that we have buyers here. It's been tested. Watch out for that as a potential turn level, and this could actually happen tonight. It's not necessarily an area I'm willing to go long in. It's okay, but the one thing I don't like about it, you can see we have pink behind this, not the green. We typically don't want to go long in this upper third, right? In the upper part of the curve. So it's a level, and again, if this is unable to hold, there may be a little bit of a trap here because again, we got buyers stepping in here at 12,940. Oh, is that a jump rope? I turned around and my daughter had a fluorescent green like shoelace. I'm like, what do you got? It's a lacrosse. It's a shooting string for a lacrosse stick. I was like, oh my god, how is she jump roping? All right, so I'd watch out for that as well. I think this is an important level. So right now, keep on your radar 13,215, 13,000, obviously. And if we get a break, watch a few different levels down here. And we do have a tested level at 12,818. Okay. Now let's go to ES. All right, ES is the next one. So ES has been whipping all over the place. And this was when I said, hey, listen, we got a couple different levels. We got to watch out for PAL. This is a 15-minute chart. Do you think PAL causes some volatility? Yeah, he absolutely does, right? So we'll jump up to a 30-minute on this one. And again, we had an area of consolidation. We were expecting a move, and you can see we had a bit of a chop back and forth. We touched, pulled back again, and it just took off. It exploded higher. As soon as it did, though, it pushed all the way back down to that same level and rallied back up again. So it just shows you the amount of power that PAL has and how any bit of discussion can send this flying. All right, now we've gone, let's see, let's do this. Let's see, in about 2 hours, we've moved about 22 points, which is a lot. All right, it's a lot. And is it really moving in any direction? Not really. I wouldn't. I would say from really the 8 a.m. till about 9:30, 10 o'clock, where this reversal occurred. That's kind of it. Since that time, we're in the same exact spot. We spiked all the way back down. We went all the way back up, and now we're basically right where we were at 9 o'clock this morning. So this is the type of indecision that Powell will have as he speaks. I would say on this one today, again being 12:30, the headlines are going to move this around. It's basically a flat day. We're up what 0.15, 0.14, something along those lines. I think right now, still keep our focus on this 1941 and the 1906. I think with everything happening tomorrow, I think the way to play this now, and again, most of the morning trading is already done, so there's not much more additional we can do. It does look like it wants to remain a bit more bearish and push down into this 39.15 level. But if we have not broken either of these two levels, I would, once Nadex prints the contracts later today, you guys know how it closes at 5 and it's closed for an hour to recycle contracts over. I would be very interested to see if we're at either of those two levels before tomorrow's data, right? And again, the knockouts, the call spreads, the binaries, everything gets closed and then reopened. The knockouts stay, but the new call spreads and everything come on. That may be where when you look tomorrow to see if we're at either of these two levels. If we can find something close to a ceiling or a floor, there may be some decent opportunity in there, whether it be overnight, um, or even just for morning time. Okay, because like I said, the European session kind of starts a lot of movement, and I mentioned before about the European session. I mean, here's some 6 o'clock down. This was a 9. Oil is the next one that when we get to oil, you'll see that again. That one has been taking off early morning. Here's the early morning here, push down and then rally back up again. So it's been decent. But right now, I would say there's not really anything tradable. Just watch out for those two levels and look at this. This is straight down. Oh no, no, no! Straight back up and then pushing right back down again. It's going to come right back down to this 39.15 level. But watch out for those two. Okay. YM. So YM, is it also jumping all over the place? Yeah. I mean, this is a 15-minute chart. Look at this. 9:15. It's like, oh, in preparation. Again, we didn't expect it to hold again. Exploded through, came all the way back, came back up, came back down. I mean, again, this is the definition of a whipsaw back and forth, right? I mean, we talked about how it was in an uptrend if we were able to break. And again, if you got out of the trade, great. If you didn't, you were like, oh no, this is bad. I lost it all. No, 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 no. It came all the way back up again, and now it's still pushing high. So, you know, we're in the middle of the curve. This one's a little bit harder, right? I would say dropping this to a 30 minutes. Right now, I'd probably be watching out for this level the most. I'd make the adjustment a little bit. I'm going to move this over just to go a little bit higher right now and say that this is probably our new area. Yeah, you're having a good time. Keep going. Keep jumping. It's like, man, please nap. Please nap. But you can see where this basing occurred right here in the really push. That's where it ran into, and it's doing it again. So this is the volatility that Pal brings. Unfortunately, everybody doesn't know what he's going to say before he says it, and that's where the volatility. Because he'll say one thing, and you're like, "Oh, this is hawkish," and then the next thing he says, "Oh no, that's dovish," and literally the market's trying to predict what he's going to say next. And I mean, it's obvious why we have the problems. But I will say, here's your 9 o'clock, your pre-market hours, and then all of a sudden, boom, first spike up, 9:30, 10 o'clock candle kicked in. We had the 10 o'clock reversal. At 10:30, it reversed and went straight back up again. So, talk about a whipsawly day, right? And again, this is one of those reasons why Nadex is such a great product, because had you gotten a binary long, expecting that there was going to be a lot of movement this morning, again, it went up. That was great. When it went down, the most you could have lost was the cost to enter the transaction, or the cost to enter the position plus the fee, and then did what? It went right back up again. So a lot of chop back and forth. Today is definitely a binary call spread type day. Knockouts were more or less in the same spot, so it's not necessarily the best place. Places to go long on this one. It's a little bit harder because again, we're sitting in this upper quadrant. We don't really have much clean until much lower, and you can see there's not. I mean, really, what is it? 32,000. Yeah, 32. I'll extend this across. I mean, here's one potential area kicking in. We'll do it here, and then you can see the next one is not till much lower. So I mean, we may get a bit more of a collapse, and this one could be in a little bit of trouble, right? But that's what we're dealing with right now, right? Buys at 32, not 32 296 and 32 245, and the next clean one are down here at 32,000. Another whole number, psychological number here. All right. I would also say, I mean, having this on the 30-minute, there will be a small level here, and you can see that's what it took a bounce off of on the 30-minute. Really, the best way to play these, if you guys are new to this, the 15-minute chart and the 30-minute chart for the indices has been the best way to play it. And again, if you were able to grab a 2 hour, whether binary or call spread, the 10 to 11:30, as this punched down, if this was a floor or ceiling, this was a great trade back to the top side in the fact that, hey, we know 10:30s are reversal times. It just drove into a very small risk level, and inside of what 2 hours, it moved 160, 160 points to the top side. So very, very fast bits of movement, and that's why we use the shorter duration. All right. Um, all right. Those are the three indices. Let's switch gears. We're going to go across and do currencies now, and we'll start with the Aussie dollar. All right. So Aussie dollar, we had that parabolic retracement move from last week. We saw that huge push up. We finally found our top, and then boom, we had a couple different confirmations down. We had a gap from Friday. Whoops. I'll go over here. And since that time, it's really pushed lower. We had a little bit of a Harry Potter trade here where we dropped, we based, we pulled back, and we continue to go lower. But one of the warnings that we have for this one is we are sitting inside of the middle of the curve, right? Tends to be an area where we get kind of stuck in, right? The second we rally higher, we get into the top third, it pushes us right back down, and then we start to go sideways. Um, Obviously, this one has some exposure. Right now, let me drop down to a 30-minute. You can see that this one, it's going off of a level, but I mean, look at this price action right here. Is there much we can do with that? Like, is there really absolutely just crazy movement? And we're talking about 20 pips from what, 6 o'clock this morning till now, right? From 6 till now, we're up 13 pips. So it's kind of like a wait and see. All right. Aussie dollar is obviously linked with gold. Just not a whole lot there. So again, I kind of need this one to rally higher or lower to give us something good. As you can see on the 4 hour, again, it is much more beaten up. We're waiting for solid levels to come in down here at 75.96. Excuse me. There is a small level sitting right here, right down here at 76.40. Um, we did know, obviously, you guys can see the little hiccup right here. We were waiting for a break, and it did. It touched here, pulled back up. We were waiting for the break and got it. It didn't go all the way towards profit target. It's still kind of sitting there. But 76.40 is probably the first time I'd be like, yeah, it's a decent level. I mean, this is a 4 hour drop. It hit it and had a nice rally off of it. But you can see besides that, there just really wasn't a whole lot in there to really grab onto. Um, but, for me, middle of that curve is kind of my neutral area. Like I said, shorts, longs, it's kind of my area. We can grab some small stuff on the smaller time frame. That's about it. Looking at the Aussie yen. Aussie yen is also pulling back. Now, this one had an amazing little gap from Sunday. This is one of those things that we mentioned. Typically, and again, if you were trading this one, if you guys know how to trade this one, there is your Sunday night gap. We pulled away, we came back up, we grabbed it, and actually, you could adjust this a few different ways, but huge push to the downside, right? Huge push to the downside. We had one little error. We were waiting for this 83.83 was a level. It was already touched here, was touched here again. So this is technically hit number 3. And once it started basing, we had to expect this one to collapse. And again, here's that Harry Potter trade where we have the push through, the base, the pullback, and then again the push down. And you can see before that broke, there was actually another level there. We wanted to make sure we had enough space, but what did it do? It blew through and went to the lower one. But the same trade, I'll put on the 30-minute. Again, this is the pattern that we draw all the time. The push through, a little bit of a base, the pull back up that doesn't go higher, and then there's the Harry Potter trade to the downside, right? There's your lightning bolt. There's the same pattern again. So again, this is one of those learning situations here. We had the touch here, we had the hit here, and then all of a sudden we had the basing here. And you're like, there we go. Let's see if we can get a break. Is it a Harry Potter? Boom, Harry Potter to the downside, and this one was a decent runner. And that's about 70 pips, so that's a lot. And then the retraces made it kind of a lot less. I would say right now on this one, again, looking on the 4 hour, we are still in the middle. We're on the bottom side, and we can see that it has spiked all the way down here, right? It's about 43 pips. I would say at this point, it's probably going to start coming in and testing some of these lows. We've already hit, already pushed down there. I would say remaining bearish, at least for today. It looks like it's stabilizing or trying to stabilize a little bit. But right now, this one has turned more into a yen play than the Aussie. And again, we're already seeing this one start to kind of push back. It's really going to depend if we can come down and test this level again. And what I like about this is this level was pushed literally. Let me see. I don't really have an arrow that I can use for it. This one was pushed to here, right? 3/4 of the way through the zone, that's showing me that there's not a whole lot left sitting in the zone. So I'd expect next time that this one makes an attempt to even break a little bit lower. Okay, so I'd say kind of bearish is what I'm thinking on this. But as far as setups go, whoops, I didn't want to take that one off. I'd be looking for probably something. Let's see. I'll take this one. Probably in here next time is where I'd be looking for shorts. Right. Again, it was a decent. We know what it went off of. We know what it went off of a prior zone, but it did come back up and then did a one candle base and then a strong push away. I'd be looking at something along these lines right here. Okay. I'll put some numbers on there so you guys can see it. That's coming in at approximately 83.61. All right. All right. Euro yen. Yeah. Euro yen. Kind of boring. So Euro yen, this is the European session, starting at 3 o'clock right here and down to 9. You guys know I have this marked off on some of the charts here. Delete that, change that, go to this blue, and you'll see this on a couple of them. I'm marking off the European sessions. It was a decent European session. It was about 85 pips, and then really once we hit 9 o'clock this morning, it's done nothing. It rallied back about 10, 15, and now has just flatlined. Now it is sitting on a level. I mean, when we look at this right now on the 4-hour, you can see that 128.88 was a level that the price has prodded down here a few times, and buyers have stepped in and saved it. We are starting to look for opportunities to go long, but we don't really have anything super clean here on the 4-hour. Even on the hourly, let's go all the way across. On the hourly, you can see what's slowing it down. But again, we drew this green box knowing that if price is able to kind of grind its way through here, right? If we can grind our way through here, we got nothing from here to here, right? We know that we don't have much here. We got this area marked off that there's a potential short opportunity to take price down to 128.27. Now, the reason this is important, okay, you may say, well, what can I do with it now? Well, it needs to go about 13 pips down, right? If it drops 13 pips to the downside, then all of a sudden, whoops, not that one. Where is it? Not that. It's this and this. That's all of a sudden where all this data tomorrow comes into play, right? All this data comes into play tomorrow morning. Why? Because right now, all the European data is expected to be good. This one's about flat. This one is supposed to go up by 0.3. Manufacturing, again, going down a little bit, but services is the one that's been killing it, expected to go higher. This one, flat, higher. Basically flat and then higher. Okay, so a lot of the data that we're seeing in that European session, if there is any type of disappointment, right, if this 55 comes in even worse, or 45 comes in even worse, there's a bad one. If the flash manufacturing here, right, is also negative, we have a double whammy, red to the downside. And again, that's where all of a sudden price starts to continue to fall. Okay. And what we do, if we can take a fall, push through, get it short, drop down to this level at 128.27, we can look for potential reversals. And again, this could be one of those ones that we look at binaries, we look at call spreads. There could be an overnight trends as well. So, I mean, it could be really, really good news. It could be really, really bad news. But if we can manage our risk using, one of the acceptable, right, kind of correct Nadex product, there could be some opportunity here for whether a bounce up. Again, depending on where it is, we could take the short down, we could take the sideways base, we could take the pushback higher. So I think the euro yen has got a lot of potential in the next 24 hours. Now, pound yen. So pound yen, we talked about this yesterday. We were really looking for this to break down. We were looking for a break of 150, mentioning that we don't really have anything until 149.57 or 149.50 is where we were looking for this to go. We drew the yellow box and we are like, listen, this is probably the range. Look for the break. In this case, it dropped. It gave us the base. It didn't pull back and it just continued to fall. Now, this is also a European-based move, and it's 152 pips. The daily ATR is 107. So this one went 150% of what it typically does in a day, right? Not a bad move. And again, it went back, it went from a basing area. Now, we're looking to go short this one. I would say right now we got to kind of get a little bit slower. We are in the bottom quadrant, or the bottom third. So we are looking for kind of some type of a reversal in this one. You can see what it actually ran into an hourly level before turning. I would say right now, I would expect price to come back down and kind of stabilize. The UK market is closed. The movement right now is happening purely from the yen. But the question is, where can we grind to? Can we grind down another, 40 pips to the downside? Can we grind down to this level before the UK Open? Remember, there is pound news tomorrow as well. And we've seen good data out of the UK. If the data is good in the UK tomorrow, that will provide us with pound strength and a potential retracement back up into probably the 150.33 level. And again, it's a decent mover. That's about 80 to 90 pips higher from where we currently are. As I mentioned earlier, check at 6 o'clock, see where some of those call spreads are, some of the binaries are, see how much premium is baked into them. And then again, one of the things that you can look at here is depending on what coast you live on, what your time frame is, right? There are different things that we could do with binaries here, right? We may say we expect it to be slow. You could take something like a 3 a.m. binary, playing one of the strategies that is kind of price neutral, right? It doesn't really move whatsoever, right? You're just looking for that sideways movement. From 3 to 7, you expect a lot of movement. So if you can grab it late, you may want to look at one of those 7 a.m. binaries. Reason why you may be like, who the heck trades 7 a.m. binaries? Well, most of the movement from here, whoops, from here to here occurred between 3 a.m. and 7, right? So why take on the additional risk where it can retrace back against you if you could take advantage of one of those 7 a.m. binaries, particularly in the pound yen. All right, so it's not a bad one. Pound dollar also had the same thing. Now this one we were actually looking for this one to come down and take a bounce. It didn't. It ended up going through the level. And again, every trade you set up is not going to be correct. That's why we have to manage our risk inside of trades. As you can see, it's really, really stuck at this level at this point. And I think we did this one off of, yeah, you can see the level right there, right? And it just drove straight through it like it didn't even exist. Um, you know, in looking at this level, you can see it was in our right level. I wouldn't rate this one. I mean, it was a 4 hour, it had touched here. Here's the original level, actually, right here. There's the original level, right? I mean, you could draw this and say, all right, there's one, right? You could say that there's two. You could say that there's a third attempt at it. And again, if you only counted this as one, and then here you go on number four, that it did break. But we did get such a nice reaction off of this one, and this was decent. And I was like, all right, it's been front run. Let's see if we can do it. And again, this is trading, guys. If you guys don't understand trading, with no risk, there's no possibility for reward. So again, was it manageable? Sure. It was about 13 pips worth of risk. We were looking for a push all the way back up again, and just like this one spiked to the downside, it could have easily turned and spiked. But we lost. Again, that's sorry. That's trading. And if that offends you, I apologize, but it can happen. Where we go with it now? Well, we know that we don't have a whole lot of levels until much farther south. We know that we got about another 90 pips lower on this one. So now the big question is where we are. Do we have some type of acceptable level of basing in here? And I would say right now, maybe, like we could adjust this a little bit and say, hey, listen, we did get some basing right here. And again, this has been quite negative, right? It's been bouncing back and forth, for the last 2-3 hours. Pal's been in there. We knew it was a fourth break. Is there an opportunity for us to go short in this position? And I would say, yeah, I mean, there's a little bit right here, right? But now I would say, hey, listen, let's flip this to more of an if this, then that type of trade. If you know how to set an alert on your trading software, look for an alert and kind of a break of this, 137.46 level. If we can, again, if this base does not hold and punches through, the old buyers here will most likely become sellers. And then all we're doing is we're just going to ride with the trend and continue to go lower. With everything we have tomorrow, again, that could also provide us opportunity for, again, this would be the dollar continuing to strengthen and the pound weakening. All right. So, again, just another potential setup. And again, got to be flexible, right? I love people that are like, no, I'm right 100% of the time. Now you don't know what the market's going to do. So again, I'm full transparency. I had it set. It didn't really meet the requirements. It did hit a fourth time, but we took the risk and missed. So oh well. Euro pound. So Euro pound was another one of those ones. This was we were looking for this to spike higher. Now this is why when we talk about trading with Nadex, where I don't know, like as kids, there was all these like games. You're like, no, close only counts in horseshoes. But with Nadex being close counts as well. Okay, taking this in the spot currency realm, we needed the 86.31 entry. We got super close on this one. We missed it by 2 pips. Could this have been in the right area for you to enter your Nadex position? Sure, and you can see it drove all the way down. Right, it came back up again, didn't hit, drove down again. The third time it spiked through, had you gotten in a call spread or a binary, guess what would have happened? Absolutely nothing. It went above, and what did it do? It ended up dropping about 27 pips to the downside, and depending on where your position is, you should be up. So, is kind of more of an area, and that's one of the things that I like most about it. Um, I would expect if this one is unable to form any type of a rally, I do think this one comes back lower. I do think we will probably test this 85-81 level. Now, this one is actually relying upon European weakness and pound strength. With all the European news tomorrow, I do think that the European Union, the euro in general, is much more at risk because again, there's France numbers that could go bad. There's Germany numbers that can go bad. There's a lot more that can go bad than what can go right. You know, with Germany, you know, Merkel reporting things. Go ahead, you do it, Jim. With Germany mentioning those things, I think that there's what, Jin? Okay, there we go. I just think there's a lot more at risk, right? There's a lot more problems that could happen, which again, all of those things, if they do go bad, brings us back down. And again, small level here, not fresh from here. The zone actually started back here a little bit. And I think the next level that we need to watch out for would be down here in this level. Okay. And again, that's a level that we've marked off for a break already. All right. So I would say probably there. I'm almost curious to see if we take. Let me see. Hold on one sec. I'm curious if we take this. Do we have enough room? Ooh, we do. We do have enough room. So yeah, we may actually be looking to take this one short tomorrow. Like I said, we got 30 pips to go, so it's not really a now thing. We'll see what it looks like later today. There's a potential right there. Ooh, not peach. Something along those lines. Right. And again, the reason why is because it chopped through. It hit, but it pushed it literally to the brink. If it comes down in bases or bounces, oh well, no harm, no foul. This one is done on the top. It's already pushed lower. Put that there. Right. If it comes down and does this and then bounces, oh well. Remember, it's if this, then that. We have to meet our required setup. Our setup is if it comes in at bases, bases on top, bases inside, look for a break of 85.75, a little bit of a pullback, and then boom, take this one short. 1 to 3 is sitting right here. The 1 to 5 obviously is a bit far, but I would make sure that any type of short position, we know we have some buyers stepping in at 85.41, so make sure you guys take profit early. Euro dollar. Here's a euro dollar trade, and again, I believe this one was set from. Did we set it from here? Yeah, no, it was higher. We were looking at this level right here yesterday. I don't know. It did it. I mean, it went up, it grabbed the level, pushed all the way down. It did what it was supposed to do. It's now in the bottom third. We know we have a level sitting here. It's an all right level. Let me see. 4 hour. Yeah, 4 hour. We're good. We got down to this 118.43. So we got some more room to run. And again, this is dollar strength, European weakness. You guys can see here, right? Here is the 3 o'clock window down to 9 o'clock. Right? There is our European session. Okay. That was a drop of 62 pips. Now, a lot of people ask me, well, what do I do with that if I don't want to, I don't really trade the European session. If you heard me talking about the 2 hour binaries, the last education summit we did for Nadex, here's the first 2 candles, right? First 2 candles are 47 pips that it moved from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. The strike differential is 4 during that time frame for the 2 hours. So this is almost what? Let's just say 48, make it a little easy. It's 12 strike price drop in 2 hours. Okay. So again, some amazing potential that you guys could have traded. And again, knowing that there was an area here, you could have taken even a collapse through for 2 hours. But right now, I'd say wait. Look for 118.43. Look for some type of a basing or even a confirmation pop. We're in the bottom third, so we are looking for longs when we get to this level, and look forward to rally back up into the middle of the zone. Dollar CAD. So dollar CAD, it bounced off a level. We mentioned this one last week, this 125.93. It had a decent spike and then really just pulled back again. The dollar CAD is not doing anything super exciting. I mean, it's up 35 pips in 24 hours, but you can see over the last bit of time, I mean, it's up 35, but it was up much, much more than that and has pulled all the way back again. So, it hit a big level. We knew we had a level sitting here. I don't think it was a 4. No, it was the 30-minute one we were talking about. But it was 2 levels on top of each other. So, it's one that we were looking for. We're back in the middle of the range. I would say I'd be a little bit more bearish on this one. As I said, this is a lot of dollar strength very, very quickly. I know if we can start getting a rally up and look for a rollover. I don't really have I don't know that maybe I'd be willing to take that one again, but the trade setup was here from yesterday. So And again, because this accelerated fast push, right now it's just chopping back and forth. It's waiting for some headlines or comments or something like that from Powell. I would look at, again, this is one that you can follow for tomorrow as well. I'd be looking for this range here, this blue box at 5 p.m., or actually, I guess at 6 p.m. Eastern, when the contracts reprint. See if we have a call spread. If there's a floor or ceiling, depending on where we are, most likely we'll be probably back in here. But if we have some type of a call spread, there could be an opportunity to be able to take this one short as well. And again, that would be dollar weakness because we do have dollar manufacturing data tomorrow. If it's not good, still lead us to the downside. All right. Dollar Swiss. Look at this one. So this is one that we set up on Monday. If you guys had attended the morning session, we mentioned it. Actually, I think we talked about this one. This level we actually talked about last week. We were waiting for it to kind of fall, and it did. It fell very, very fast right into the level, and you can see right now from the time that it hit the level, we're at about a 1 to 7. It's about 111 pips in 24 hours right now. So it's been a great mover. Profit taking, in my eyes, we were taking profit here at 93.09. It's gone a bit farther than that, about 15 pips. Well, I missed that on a lot, but, getting 1 to 5 on a trade with low risk, I'm all about that. Now where I'm kind of looking for a reversal area, like I said, this is a big push up. Whenever you see these big pushes, unfortunately, looking to the left to see what we have, we don't really have a lot. I know we have the position up top. If I had to pick an area, I'd say that there's the last time we had kind of like a lot of sellers stepping into the market. So maybe we kind of keep this on our radar and say, hey, listen, when we get up to this level here at 93.57, see what we got there. And like I said, let me put it up there real quick. I don't even know if it's going to be up there. Occasionally, I normally have the platform up. Let me pull it real fast. Baby singing. I'm just curious. Is there dollar Swiss 93.53? Yes. So what I was trying to see is if there was a knockout anywhere up there. There is actually a knockout there. It is a little bit tight though, right? The knockout is at 93.59. So it's literally right above where this one is. It may be a little bit tight, but if we start pushing up into this area and we start basing, right, before news tomorrow, there is the potential opportunity to use a knockout on that one. Let me see call spread wise what we have as well. Again, obviously, I got to use the weeklies. I can't use the dailies because it's tomorrow. But what you can do is you can go in tonight at 6 o'clock, look to see where the call spreads are, and see if we have a ceiling up here. Because when we have this is where we tend to get the reversals. Dollar Swiss weekly 39. I'm sorry, not 39, 93. A little bit dyslexic. Nah, there's not one that none of the weeklies match up. It goes from 33.09, which is all the way here, up to 94.34, all the way up here. So unfortunately, there's not a weekly. So what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have a look at this one. The dailies close in 2 hours and 10 minutes. They get reprinted at 6 o'clock today. Go check them out. See if there's a ceiling up there. There may be an opportunity again, depending on where we are. The dollar Swiss seems to carry less premium in it, right? Because it's not considered like a volatile base pair, even though you get a really good day. And again, strong push down, we found a base, we pushed up. Strong push down, we found a base, we pulled back up again. Decently, found a base, pushed back up, but this is a much stronger rally than it was a drop. Look for the base and look for a roll back down again is kind of what I'm thinking there. All right. And then last but not least, dollar yen. Yesterday morning, we talked about this one. It's been really, really choppy. Again, we came down. We touched the 108.43. It was a level we mentioned yesterday. It was the last time we had decent buyers step in. Wasn't the freshest area. We're looking really for kind of a one extra day to kind of have this grind. And it kind of went up and then really 2 hours dropped and has really pulled back. So it's not really, I don't know, where is it? Dollar yen has moved minus 5 pips in 24 hours, right? I mean, there's been decent movement down, 35, and then it pushed all the way back up again. So unfortunately, the dollar yen is still not really giving us really a whole lot to work with. I mean, I guess you could have taken it from here. You would have been up 19 pips. But again, dollar yen, going, I don't know, dollar yen and PAL is kind of like, a little risky, right? A little bit risky. Then there was definitely better opportunities out there today. All right, so that's it for currencies. Let's go ahead and switch over to the commodities. Let's go to oil first. Now, oil is just getting obliterated. And crazy enough, this X over here, number 4, where we expected to break, just happened to kick in at the European Open. So the London market just took this one, blew this zone up here. Again, 4 hits, blew it up, dropped us down. We're down 3.82% today. Big day before oil, right? Oil inventory report is tomorrow at 10:30. Really, since I don't know this initial push down, I guess we got one little an area of basing, and at 7 o'clock we dropped. It's really just been kind of back and forth, trying to figure out what the demand is going to be for this oil inventory tomorrow. Um, So right now, it's expected to be 1.4 million surplus, right? Last week we were pretty close, right? Forecast, 2.8 came in 2.4. The 2 prior weeks, they were like way, 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 way off, right? And again, Texas was like frozen and all that, right? I think 2.4 is decent, but I think that this one, I, here's where my confusion on this one comes from this. We've had a lot of kind of I'd say bad headlines, right? I mean, Germany saying that we're seeing an exponential increase is not good, right? Is this move today preparing us for a rally back up again? Because again, you guys can see it, we are in the bottom third of movement with a high level fresh zone. So we are actually looking for an area to go long. 57 to 88, this purple line down here is really where the zone actually kicks in. And again, bringing it up to a 4 hour, you can see that. That's the last big spike off of this level, right? It's a big level. I mean, it's a big area. I mean, I could mark this off as here. I'll just do them both in green. It's probably I don't want to confuse anybody. There's where the level kicks in at 57.88 to 57.41. Right? We could probably shrink that because this is a 4 hour chart. But we are in an area where we're looking to go long. And again, we had the big rally up, it kind of based, and then again, top level hammered down to the other side before coming back up again. So question is today's movement in preparation for a breakout number back higher, or is there more to this volatility, or more to the kind of, I guess, recovery slowdown that we are seeing, right? Um, so it's an interesting, and again, this is just, there's not much we can do with this one. So right now, I would say this is kind of, let's see what the API number is tonight. But if this comes down to this level here, could be a viable level to kind of go after. Let me see real quick. And again, watch the commodities knockouts. Sometimes they're a little bit big. They're better than gold right now, but that is 57.88 to 57.41. There is a knockout at 57.25, which would be 57.25 right there, right? That could be one that could be interesting. If we can kind of grind down the rest of today and be down here, if we can get down to this level before the European Open, because again, the European Open has been the big mover, that could be a potential long, right? That could be a potential bounce area. Or yeah, there's a couple ways we could do with that one. That's not bad. We're in close enough proximity. I don't think that's necessarily a bad one. I'd also watch the call spreads on this one, and again, watch the binaries. Some of the weekly binaries for oil are great. Some of them are not so great. Call spreads seem to be the ones that are I would say better than what we have in some of the other things. So yeah, just a potential, right? I would say watch that. If we do start to rally back up again, do look for sellers, just like we had a big push here. I would say look for sellers to step in here around 60.72. Again, going from this green area back into the blue, it was decent enough, and again, strong push to the downside. So yeah, look at that one. If you guys are unfamiliar with call spreads, or I'm sorry, knockouts, go on your demo side, and try one of them. This is kind of one of those opportunities. Look at gold. So there we have gold. We didn't get to talk about gold this morning, and it's a shame we didn't, because it's a level that we talked about on Monday morning. Here's where we were sitting Monday morning, and we mentioned that 1741 was an area where we like being short. We'd like the movement off of it. The one risk to it was kind of like, it was formed at like 1 o'clock in the morning. It did follow back through and then took a bounce. And again, we were hitting there about 2 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday. Kind of bounced around again, pushed down. European session wrote us up, and then this is where we were this morning. And you can see if this is the level for the top of that risk level, you can see we didn't get stopped out, and we had an amazing push back to the downside. So, we didn't get to cover it today. We don't get to cover everyone every morning. But again, if you had watched Monday morning our YouTube broadcast, you would have known this level, and you could have taken this level, twice now at this point. I think both of them were decent. This one pushed down 1 to 5, and this one right now with the same level is actually down here at a 1 to 8. So again, nice movement. Um, you know, this daily contract would have been nice because here's where we were this morning, 8:30. We're flirting around with this piece right here. So got going. What's it? 10 down. So $10 down. Now we're dealing with some other levels. We're dealing with that old area of interest. I would say the next clean level is probably sitting over here, right? You guys can see us at the bottom of the level, but 1719. I would say right now, the wider curve is going to be 1752 to 1719. This was obviously the trade of the morning for this one. You know, I'd watch that for tomorrow. Like I said, Powell can send this one flying in any different direction. Um, Manufacturing will matter tomorrow too, because if we see a bigger uptick in price for the Purchasing Managers Index, that's showing a little bit more inflation, which also would say, oh, we're seeing inflation. Well, that's where we go. We step into the gold market. So, but I will give you this caveat. Right now, you can see that gold's been very much sideways on a larger scale of things, dropping this up to like not a 45-minute, like a 4 hour. You can see that right now, although we kind of have compressed area, right? We're using these two levels. We are kind of smack in the middle, and we're starting to see a lot more sideways movement right now. So it's not as exciting, right? Unfortunately, gold is not as exciting as we'd like it. And you can see here on the hourly, we've really been just kind of channeling back and forth between 1760 and 1700, right? Yeah, yeah. But again, pushing lower, 1719, 1706 are two levels that I'm looking for potential buys. A little bit of a bounce back higher. Now, silver also taking it on the chops today. Silver, we were looking for profit targets. Again, we were in a side of a short position from this level when we broke. And again, we talked about it here. We touched. We were waiting for a break. Here's one, here's two. Again, same level again. We were actually waiting for a little bit better of an entry on it. It ended up going short, coming back through. And again, we had our profit targets at 25.38. We've gone through and pushed. It looks like it's going to come all the way back down to touch 25 today. 25, I do actually like. This is kind of a level that we had touched here. We weren't as certain on that one. This one I think is a little bit better. It's definitely much more of a psychological number, right? And again, it's been touched in one front run. So I would say that really once we get down a bit lower, this is one we should watch out for and look for a potential long. Am I in the camp that this is going to 50? No. Have I ever been in the camp that it's going to 50? No. It's just never something that I saw. I don't know. I would say that although we're looking for buys, I'm still bearish this position. We're not seeing inflation. This is kind of the double hedge for inflation. It's also kind of the Reddit trader versus Wall Street, which is never going to win. Um, you know, like I said, they were supposed to take this to like $100 or something like that. Silver was like the second, GME. Um, but again, at the end of the day, it's still going to trade based off of technicals. And like I said, we're in a downtrend. Unfortunately, I mean, on an hourly basis, these candles are really hard to do any analysis on. They're just not clean. It's just the volume is probably pretty low on this, and you can see there's a small position at 8:30. You could have taken south, but again, same. Again, I'll push this across. But that same level of area of interest level. God, give it to me. There we go. So we're looking for a short, right? Yeah, I mean, I think we come down to here, but unfortunately, let's see. Yeah, I mean, silver has 25 minutes to go, right? I think these end a bit earlier. Yeah, they end at 125. So we got 25 minutes left in these binaries. We're just not going to run out. We're going to run out of time for these. If you're looking to play silver, wait till 6 o'clock, and then that way we can get some of the new contracts printed on it. But pretty much for the day, the 11 to 1 is gone. You know, and that's it. We're silver market is pretty much over for the day. Sorry. But I do think, again, of all the commodities, I think oil is the one that's the most exciting. And again, oil inventory, I think, is going to matter, right? I think this is going to be the big call. And again, it's going to start off with Powell testifying in the first 30 minutes. If he says anything about a slower recovery or actually wanting to see recovery, that is also kind of a negative sentiment for oil. If this has any type of increased surplus, that is also a negative factor for oil. Any of the manufacturing data in here or services going down, negative for oil. U.S. services, negative for oil. And then even here, if the ECB basically says at 11:40, yeah, recovery is much slower than expected. Also, kind of negative for oil demand. So there's a lot out there. I mean, I'm not saying that we can't go higher, but I'm just saying that there's a lot of factors out there that are really kind of sticking it to them. All right. So with that said, that's it for this week. Make sure you guys tune in next week, March 30th. For those of you too that are not on the morning sessions, a lot of the setups that we've mentioned today of trades that have triggered and things, those are typically brought up in the morning sessions. There's not one every single day, but like today, the dollar Swiss example, that was actually given out. Actually, I guess the gold example. We didn't have time for it today, but we did do it yesterday. Had you followed that session, you would have known those levels existed. And again, for those of you that are new, I am very much an if this, then that type trader, right? If this, then that means when a certain set of conditions happens is when I'm interested in a trade. But it all starts with knowing where your levels of buyers and sellers are. All right. So mark the calendar off March 30th. I can't believe March is over already. It's crazy, right? 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you have any questions for me, you can shoot to the website, keeptradingsimple.com. Every morning I try to be on Twitch from 9:30 to 10:30. Thursdays, Fridays I don't. I'm actually volunteering at my daughter's nursery school because she's a little bit young, so I have to chaperone her. You can email me with any questions, support@keeptradingsimple.com, or you can check me out on YouTube as well. But again, 8:45 to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Jump over to YouTube, Nadex's webpage, and hit the notification bell. You'll know exactly when we go live every single morning. You guys take care. Have a great trading day, and I'll catch you tomorrow.